Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe Recommends. In this video, I'll be going over a lot of the new releases and a lot of great reissues that are coming out. It's a fantastic time to be a collector, music lover, and support these great artists with all these ways that you can purchase their music and collect their music. It just seems like a great time for a lot of different formats being supported by these artists. And it's great that you can directly support the artists a lot of times with buying directly from their website and Bandcamp and things like that. Just a really exciting time. So in this video, again, I'll be going over a lot of new music and then going really quickly through some of the reissues. There's a lot of reissues coming out that I want to recommend, but I'll go through that quickly. And then at the end of the video, I'll touch on one of my favorite releases of the month, new, and also reissues. So with that, let's kick it off with my first recommendation. So back in 1988, I was just starting to hear some of my first house tracks in acid house. That year, and hearing stuff like Todd Terry and some of the freestyle music kind of bridge over to techno music and including house and stuff like that. It was a really exciting time around 1988. And one of the tracks that really hit me hard that year was I was watching a video channel and they were playing music videos, and one of the first really house and acid house tracks to really cross over into the mainstream was Break for Love by Raze. And it was just a phenomenal record. I think it originally came on Champion Records, and this version was on Columbia. This was a reissue. I think I got this around maybe like 1998, I think, maybe about 10 years later. And it was such a great track and so smooth, and the vocal was great, and the video, if you've ever seen the video, is just iconic and so cheesy in a good way, but a super smooth vocal. I mean, it just, if you know this track, you're smiling like I am because it's just great. But the reason why I'm bringing it up on this video is there's some new remixes of it, and it's just great to hear some kind of updated version of it. And they really did a good job in these three particular remixes of honoring the original, but just slightly updating it. And you'll see my links down below on all the releases that I talk about in this video. You'll see a link down below of where you can listen to it or purchase it if you're interested. Also on this particular link, you'll see my full review on Juno Records down at the bottom, where I got a chance to review it online. So, yeah, let's check out a sample of Illa Rudman's remix of Raze's Break for Love, such a classic track from 1988.
Baby, don't you worry, I want to be the man that you want me to be. There's no need to worry, I'm gonna give you love the way you want it to be. I'll be there every morning, baby, to hold you tight. And that's why, baby, you don't have to wonder why.
So another blast from the past, going back to 1991, Utah Saints and their track "What Can You Do for Me." This is the digital release only that I saw on Juno, and it came across my desk to review, and I was really excited when I saw it because this has always been my favorite track from from Utah Saints album, their self-titled album. And this, obviously was something good, and I Want You. This kind of made some waves back in America in that time, and it was one of the first I guess techno artists to really kind of cross over a little bit into the mainstream and being played late at night and even on the radio and things like that. And even I remember seeing Something Good, like their video on TV and stuff like that. And the cool thing is when I was looking at these new remixes, I was checking them out to see if I knew any of these particular remixes. And I never knew that David Morales remixed this, so I was really excited to check it out, and I was definitely pleasantly surprised. Unfortunately, this isn't a reissue on vinyl. It's just if you see the link down below, it's just they're collecting these original remixes and putting them together on one digital EP. And but it was originally released on vinyl. The David Morales mixes. I think it released about a year after the original remixes, when it was originally a single, I think in late 1991. But love his remixes, and David Morales back in 1991, 1990, his remixes were just on fire. He was just amazing. One of my favorite remixers back then. And it's great to hear his version of this track, and just super smooth, and kind of turns it from a kind of a storming techno and rave track into a super smooth deep house track, and perfect for more of the house the clubs that are playing like house music. And originally, like all week after I heard this, it just kind of became a favorite, and just kind of rejuvenated my interest in playing Utah Saints all week. I reviewed Utah Saints album a couple of months ago, and it was the first time I played it in a year or two. And unfortunately, it does sound dated in a lot of ways, but there's still some great songs on there for the most part. Overall, the album is so-so, but kind of hearing a fresh remix to me, even though it was an original remix by somebody like David Morales, just kind of vaulted the track into being able to play it a little bit more than I can play the original. Now the original again is more ravey, and so to be able to play, or as a DJ, kind of play it into a deep house set and have that kind of alternate version is fantastic. So check out the remix right now, and if you're interested in checking out more of this one, check the link below. As far as new releases coming out, definitely wanted to mention the new Wagon Christ album called Planet Roll. Just really excited. Anytime I hear something new coming out from Luke Vibert, I get super excited. Wagon Christ is one of my favorite names that he uses for his down-tempo music. A little bit of trip hop in there. Such a great sampler and great artist in his own right. I love his ambient music as well, and this history of Wagon Christ, and I also love his disco music under Carrier District, also his drum and bass stuff under Plug, but everything he does under Wagon Christ I love even more, and really excited to hear his first album in I think roughly 3 or 4 years, I think, since his last one. So really cool to hear a new album. I think it's going to be coming out next month, so check for that. But again, there's a link down below. Also out this week is the new album by John Mao called Later Than You Think. Really excited to get a new album from John Mao. It's been about 5 or 6 years since his last couple albums, and should be in my mailbox hopefully today or Monday. So really excited to hear a new album by him. Such a fantastic producer, so original, such a smart guy too as well. Very, if you ever want to hear a very interesting artist, very intellectual and very deep artist as far as like his interviews and stuff like that, definitely YouTube some of his videos. Just a really intelligent guy and such a passionate performer and really clever and catchy electronic music. Just fantastic stuff. Can't recommend John Mao enough. Also coming out October 1st is the 7th album called Don't Trust Mirrors by the artist named Kelly Moran. I really think highly of Kelly Moran and her music. If you're interested in like John Cage or Keith Jarrett or chamber music or piano music or anything ethereal or abstract but very beautiful in a lot of ways, definitely check out Kelly Moran's music. Just excellent producer. She's been on Warp Records, I think, since 2018 when she signed over there. And hats off to Warp Records for recognizing a fantastic, unique artist and supporting her. Really enjoy her music. So definitely check out her music. You'll see a link down below. Also, I wanted to note the soundtrack coming out for Tron that just came out last week by Nine Inch Nails. The movie will be out in October, and so I'm really excited to just check out the new Tron movie and also hear the soundtrack that Trent Reznor and his crew have done for the movie. I think with the last Tron movie, Daft Punk did it, so with this one, Nine Inch Nails should be pretty cool. And really looking forward to the movie and, of course, the soundtrack. But definitely check that out. If you're interested, there's a link down below to where you can check out more of the soundtrack. Also, I want to mention Gina-X has a new greatest hits coming out. If you're an old school new wave fan and synth pop fan like I am, you probably remember No GDM, which is kind of a cult classic track that came out. I first heard Andrew Weatherall play it back in like 2000 or maybe 1998 on his 9 O'Clock Drop CD, which was a fantastic compilation that he put out that showed his taste in music is just just impeccable. Just if you know Andrew Weatherall, you know how great his music taste was as a DJ and as an artist, and great remixer and producer, engineer as well. And of course, this was engineered or produced by Zeus Beheld. It came out on Dark Entries, which is one of my favorite labels in the past 10, 15, 20 years as far as like reissues and just finding great music. It's always great to find like labels like Mannequin or Erased Tapes or Dark Entries. You know, you find these labels that just do a great job and that you can really trust their taste in music.
Being but a lesbian. You are perfect, you are sheer. If you are a redhead weird, that's life. One dies. C'est la vie, ma chérie. But it really doesn't matter.
There's 3 releases that I wanted to highlight in the genre of dub and dub techno. The first one is the new Greyscale Exposure Series, number 5 in their series. This Exposure Series is one where they, a lot of times they release on digital and CD, and this particular series is one that they support on vinyl with these dub plates and limited edition. And this one's got, like every Exposure series has, this has one track from 4 different artists on there, and looks like Armin Bender's on this one, Noosa Sound System, who I featured on a recent video, fantastic producer from Australia, also Divide and Elias, and also Massimo Music, and really good stuff in dub techno. And let's check out a sample. I also want to mention the new EP, the 12th EP on the Spiritual World label, which is a Toronto-based label that supports a lot of dub music. Really interesting label. I've really been excited since I found this label a few months ago. And in this particular release, they're reissuing a couple of tracks from a 1986, a very rare cassette-only compilation that was that featured some dub music. So definitely check the link below. You'll hear a couple samples as well. But if you're interested in some rare dub music, definitely check out Spiritual World, the label, and also definitely support them and check out their Bandcamp page as well. Also coming out is a really exciting new album from Paul St. Hilaire, who also goes by the name of Tiki Man, and the album is called With the Producers. Back in the 90s, he did a lot of music on, a lot of vocals on dub techno tracks and dub records on Rhythm and Sound, and also on Main Street Records. Also, he did an album with Deadbeat. It's really excellent from 2014 called The Infinity Dub Sessions. Definitely check that out if you ever get a chance. But yeah, he did a lot of stuff on Main Street Records, and also Rhythm and Sound. And back then he did you can see this one says Rhythm and Sound with Tiki Man. And so now he's doing one with producers. So instead of him being featured with other artists, they're now on his album, and those a lot of those artists are being featured on his album as he does vocals on. So really exciting to check out that album coming out, and it's called With the Producers. Down below you'll see a link on it, and check out some samples of it. Also out is the new E.R.P release called Microcentric, and it's on Synchrophone Records. And looks like there's 3 new tracks on this particular EP. Also, an appearance from his alter ego called Convection, so he does a remix under that name. And whenever you see the Convection name that he records under, that's a little bit more techno, where E.R.P is more electro. But anytime he has a new release come out, Jared Hansen, people just go crazy because he's just such a fantastic producer. So I have 3 recommendations in the house music category. The first one is a track called Acid Blues by the artist called Number 9. And then also my second one is a compilation for Music for Dreams by Kenneth Badger, or Badger. I'm not sure it's how it's pronounced, but the compilation is called My House Is Yours, and this is volume 2. Kenneth always does a great job for Music for Dreams, curating that label, and also gathering these really great compilations. I think on the digital versions, there's roughly about 20 tracks in all, and a lot of great various styles of house music in there. A lot of great stuff, and you'll hear a few samples off that. And then the third recommendation that I have is by Photonz, who I first got wind of about 6 or 7 years ago on the Skylax label out of France. And his new EP is called Out of Time, One-Eyed Jacks. And so check out some samples of that. I think you'll be interested in that, especially if you like house music.
Century.
far as the techno genre, I have 7 recommendations this video. First one is by one of the most underrated producers in the last 30 to 35 years. One that doesn't get enough credit. One of my favorite producers of all time, Stephen Robbers, and his Terrace name that he also records on. He had a new album that I happened to miss. I think it came out a couple months ago, but really super excited to check it out. I'm kind of saving myself to hear for the first time and actually get a physical copy. I know nothing he does is bad, so it's one of those blind purchases that over the last 30 years I've just continued just to blind buy his music because he doesn't come out with music a lot, and when he does, it's always really good. And I've just been a big fan of his for a long time. And the new album's called Branches by Terrace. Also, you'll hear a sample of the new album by Barker called Stochastic Drift. That's got some exciting sounds on it. I don't know too much about him, but from what I heard on this album, and then looking into his last couple releases, looks like he's getting a lot of buzz. So excited to check out more from him, but wanted to recommend his channel because I do like what I hear, but I want to check out some more of his stuff. Also really exciting to hear a new EP that kind of hit the mark as far as a nostalgic release. The new GusGus EP called New Arrivals. Of course, GusGus really popular from the from the 90s, and they're from Iceland. And this particular New Arrivals EP is definitely kind of reminding me of like LFO and a lot of the UK kind of ravey techno in the early 90s, and it's kind of a nostalgic listen for sure. But here's definitely check that out. If I don't play a couple samples in there, definitely check out that below. Also of note is the new compilation from Musique pour la Danse from Holland, and their Mental Groove Classics, and this is their 4th volume. It includes some really good tracks from The Beloved, also Desert Storms and their famous Scarag 93 track. Also Bizarre Tracks is on there with their fantastic track called Sensory Delights. Also the Sound Vandals with their new groove classic called Second Dimensions from 1991. And I think there's like 4 other tracks as well. There's just some really good stuff on this particular house compilation, so check that as well. You'll hear a sample of that as well. In my quest to always find new and upcoming producers, I generally scour Bandcamp for like a couple hours every few weeks and just kind of listen to random artists that I don't know of. And this particular artist had a couple tracks that I really liked, so I wanted to share a couple tracks from him. The artist name is called Domshee, and the tracks are called Gateway and Underground. You'll hear a sample of those two. It's always cool to kind of find lesser known artists who are kind of up and coming and listen to their music. So I certainly feel like I can recommend these two tracks. Also, I wanted to highlight an EP called The Echoes by an artist named Emrat, and it's on the Humiduz label out of Los Angeles. What I Say, and it's by an artist named Lucius, and it's on Con Records. Also some really cool techno on there as well, and so you can check out some samples. There's a lot of great reissues coming out recently, and here's a handful of ones that I'd like to recommend for you. One of the reissues that came out this month that I'm really excited about is one that I had a small hand in helping make happen, and that was the new reissue by Kenneth called Body Music under his alias Ashtar After Hours, which originally came out in 2001 on Plastic City Records. And I contacted one of my favorite techno labels of the last 15, 20 years, Smallville Records, and Julia Stenhoff, the artist and also co-owner of the label, contacted me back, and I was sharing some new music that Kenneth's been doing, and he was really excited about it. And so we're going to stay in contact, and hopefully something happens with his new music. But in the meanwhile, he expressed a big interest in one of his older records, and it was Body Music, Ashtar After Hours, and the EP is called Body Music. And he expressed that he was really interested in reissuing, and so after a couple of months, of being pressed and working out the artwork and everything like that, it got reissued, and I just wanted to show that. Here's the original copy on Plastic City, one of my favorite Kenneth Graham records. And it's really exciting for me personally to work with artists that I've liked for so long. I've been a big fan of Kenneth Graham's music since the late 90s, and the music that he did on Peace Frog Records, especially with David Alvarado under the Sunkissed name, and also Sun Children. The first time I heard one of his tracks was back in 1996 on a Slam mix from the Scottish duo Slam. They remixed one of the Sun Children records, and ever since I heard that track, I've just been a huge fan. And over the last 25 years, or probably the first 15 years to about 10 years ago, I collected all of Kenneth Graham's music. So I had pretty much his whole catalog, some like 30, 40 records. Probably my favorite producer of techno music and house music from my home city of Los Angeles. Just an excellent producer. And so here's his original. I also have a backup copy, and I also have the original white label as well. But here's the new reissue on Smallville Records, and but really excited to be a small part in seeing this get reissued. Just a big fan of Kenneth Graham and Smallville, so connecting the two and getting it reissued is a big kind of honor for me to be a small part in, and seeing great music like this get reissued on a great label that I follow as well. So if you're interested in checking out the tracks or ordering a copy, there's a link down below. I personally ship out the records, so if you need anything or have any questions, you can message me. But also, if you'd like to download the music, it's also available there online as well as on many other sites. And if you live in Europe, check out Word and Sound or Smallville Records. You can order a copy for a little, obviously, cheaper shipping. If you're located overseas. Around like 1996, 97, 98, that period there, it was a really exciting time for techno and house to start blending together, and it was kind of the original style of tech house. And over the last 25, almost 30 years, the term almost has a bad connotation to it, or a bad stigma about it, and kind of it watering down techno, or maybe watering down house, and becoming a very cheesy. And it sort of became the catch-all for anything that was in between techno and house. And, over the years, it's certainly, been, I wouldn't say it's been overdone, but there's been a lot of people that have liked the style and the idea of the genres combining. And so naturally, you're going to get a lot of people making their version of tech house. And for me, it started with N Recording and Leo and Bushwacka and a lot of the great music on Plink Punk records that kind of started blending like techno and trance. And then it started bringing in some techno artists like Stacy Pollin and Derek Carter from Chicago. And so you started to see like a blend of UK and also of American house artists doing a blend of techno and house, and that sort of evolved and it spawned some of my favorite artists in tech house around the turn of the century, like Chris Brand, Whamdoo Kids, or The Time Writer was really great. Another one that was really excellent and has a new reissue coming out, and I'm really excited to see a lot of his early records get reissued in the last couple of years, including like snowboarding in Argentina, which came on Laspus Records, I think about 2 years ago. But here's his one of his latest ones, and I'm talking about the artist called Swayzak. And if you know Swayzak's music, like me, you've always been a fan of his music. And his most recent one called Goose is getting a reissue on Records. His original copy here as well. I'll probably get a reissue copy as well, because I'm such a big fan and collector of Swayzak's early material. I have probably 80% of it, which is probably about 30 or 40 records. So I've been a big fan of Swayzak and collecting his music, through the early 2000s onto the 2010s and stuff like that. And there was a time probably around 2010 where I pretty much finished collecting all my Swayzak records that I wanted. And so there's a couple still here and there, but it's nice to see more people recognize his music, because his version of tech house and was just always felt was like the example, or one of the examples of quality tech house music. And again, that's Swayzak and his release called Goose. my favorite techno artists in the last 15 years is Delta Funktionen, and I found his music on Delson Records, so I followed since the late 90s. One of the best techno labels in the past 25 years, and the quality releases through and through that label. And one of the artists that I found through that label, among others like D5 and quite a few other ones, but one of the best ones that I found from that label was Delta Funktionen. And just recently, there was a four EP series he did in 2015, and at the time of release, it was still kind of like not really like widely known, and I really enjoyed the edge in Delta Funkenen's techno. Like, it has like almost like an EBM edge, but it's a darker edge and very sci-fi. And he came out with this series, and now it looks like he's going to be reissuing at least one of them, if not maybe all four soon. And this is the one that's getting reissued right now. It's chapter 2 called Chasm of Chills, and you'll hear a sample of it in this video. But also, just a great artwork. And here's all 4 parts of the series. These actually came out on his own label called Radio Matrix, and this was the last one, part 4, called Life Water Oasis. But just excellent music. I've always collected all stuff that Delta Funkenen's came out with. It seems like he's taken a break in the past like 5 or 6 years. I think there's only been like one release, but I collect everything he gets in those years and through the time. So hopefully he'll start making some more music and being a little bit more prolific, hopefully in the near future. But definitely check out his music if you like what you hear in these samples. And we'll check out a couple samples here of part 2 of the 4-part series. So one of my favorite labels of all time is Instinct Ambient Music, which came out, or actually was a sub-label of Instinct Records. For those that don't know, Instinct Records, back around 1990, was one of the most, and through probably about the middle 90s, was one of the most important distributors and collectors, especially for compilations of spreading the sort of UK techno and ambient music and other styles of music, electronic music. One of the most important labels in America at the time, Instinct Records. And so Following Instinct through the early 90s, of course, they were probably most known for releasing Moby's first few EPs and first couple compilations, as well as his first couple albums before then he went on to sign on Mute Records in 1995, and of course then that really launched his career with Everything Is Wrong, and then of course he went to superstardom with Play and everything by the late 90s. But in the early 90s he was signed to Instinct Records, and the sub-label of Instinct Records was an offshoot of it, and it focused on the ambient music, and that was called Instinct Ambient. And Instinct Ambient still is probably, if not my favorite ambient label of all time. It's certainly the most important and impactful for me. It really fed my interest in space music and planetarium music and just sci-fi music and glitchy music and ambient music. And a lot of those producers at the time in like 93, 94 were coming out of the rave, the first iteration, the first few years of techno and rave here in America. And so in some ways Instinct Ambient and those releases that were on the label was like the origins of the first time some of these artists were making albums inside their own studios, inside their own houses. So in a way, Instinct Ambient is almost not only the music, but it's like a great example of the early generation of these artists not having to go to studios and actually doing music in their own home studios. And because they're doing music in their own home studios, they're piecing together different equipment secondhand, putting in sound effects. They're very creative, doing a lot with a little. And I really loved that period and kind of going through it, and I collected it and made a lot of friends over the years with it, and it's been a really important label for me, going on. They had about 15 or 18 releases on the label, but one of the most important parts of it was they did a 10-month series, and it was called the Instinct Monthly Ambient Series. They were also released on a European distribution of it, and those ones were colored. And so like this is I think this one might be a colored one, but the release I'm talking about and I wanted to highlight because it's getting reissued this month is Terry Thaemlitz album from 1995 called Soil. So 30 years ago this was released, and I think this was number 7 in the series, and the series is just iconic for me. I got a chance to release a couple tracks on the second album that I ever did for my label on Rediscovery Records by Mysteries of Science, which was Dominic Woozy. And so I've just been a big fan of the label, and I'll probably have to do a whole video on my history of almost every release and reviewing it and talking about it and my love for the label and the compilations that followed after it and just the impact of it, the friendships I've made through that label. But for now, I just wanted to highlight the reissue of it. If you see in the corner of my room over there, I'll kind of spread the camera there. That right there, it's kind of a little hard to see because it's behind that cabinet, but that's an original 1995 poster of this album. So just amazing to see this. I even contacted Terry probably like 10 years ago and asked him if I could reissue this on my label, and he kindly said he'd like to do it himself one day. And so sure enough, now it's 30-year anniversary. Looks like it's a 3-disc set. It feels like a 3-disc set. I haven't opened yet. I may not open it. I may get another copy. I do have again, I have it on CD. And I think I have a copy on CD as well. I have doubles and triples of every Instinct release that they have. Every one that's related to Instinct Ambient on the parent label as well, because there's compilations that sort of serve both labels. I have multiple copies of those. Just a huge fan of the label. Some other exciting reissues that are coming out. Polygon Window, Surfing on Sine Waves is coming out, reissued by Warp Records. And really exciting to see this reissued finally. It's been a long time coming. If you'd like to see the link above, you'll see a link. I reviewed this last week on my channel. Excellent album. Also getting reissued for its 30th anniversary is Goldie and his amazing drum and bass iconic record called Timeless. Just a fantastic record. One of the probably, I think if anybody in drum and bass did a top 10 list, it'd be very rare if you didn't see this on the top 10 list. Just an iconic album from Goldie, and it's great to see it's getting reissued. Looks like there's a couple different color versions if you're interested in certain colored version, but it looks like it's a double pack, so it's great that they're honoring this fantastic drum and bass record for its 30th anniversary. Also getting reissued is Aphex Twin's 1995 album called Classics. This compilation collected a few of his early EPs on Aarnalds Records and also a few of extra tracks. And this features some fantastic examples of his early rave music and his more aggressive techno. Includes the classic Didgeridoo, Flapheads on here. Just some excellent music in here, and another very rare compilation to get on vinyl for a reasonable price. And so it's good that Aphex Twin's Classics gets reissued, as well as Polygon Windows Surfing on Sine Waves, so more people can get a copy. Also, there's a couple of anniversary reissues coming out. The first one is the box set of Simple Minds' 1985 Once Upon a Time album, which was considered their breakthrough album at the time. And the great thing about the box set is not only does it collect some demos, the remixes, and some B-sides from the time, and the singles from this time, but it also offers the live album that supports this, which was the Live in the City of Lights live album, which I can't recommend enough. It's one of my favorite live albums of all time. Love the way it's recorded, love the energy, love the track list. It's a blend of obviously supporting the album at the time and then some key classics of the time that are a little bit lesser known, like Big Sleep, also East of Easter, fantastic tracks. Book of Brilliant Things, so it's just a great period piece and well recorded live album. A lot of energy. Love the pictures inside as well on the original album. It's been a favorite of mine since it came out in 1987. So when my older sister has a copy, now I have a couple copies on vinyl. It even inspired me to get the Verona, the Italy DVD in 1989, which I have that box set, and I just love that period. Although this album gets a lot of slack sometimes from hardcore Simple Minds fans, you can't knock the energy. And if anybody deserved to get popular and deserve it and deserve, being a household band, I think Simple Minds deserve that, because they went through 5, 6, 7 albums almost with not much American success. So it was nice to see them hit it big, with Don't You Forget About Me, and of course later versions of this included it on the album, and it is fitted on this box set, of course, as well. But Once Upon a Time, if you really like that album, you really like that period, it's a must buy because it includes everything from that time, and it's for a reasonable price. Comes out on CD and vinyl. Another box set that's celebrating 40 years is the new reissue of Crush by OMD, and that album, which of course included So in Love and Secrets, among others. And the great thing about this particular compilation is there's a couple of unreleased tracks that have never been featured before. And don't quote me on the number on that. I think there's 7 demo tracks and maybe 1 or 2 tracks have never been released before on the box set. So, of course, it includes a few of the remixes on the 12 inches as well, on the singles. And I think there's some demo tracks on there as well. But if you're a big fan of Crush, and that's a somewhat underrated album in OMD's career, and kind of looked at very similar to Simple Minds in some respect, as kind of maybe not really liked a lot by the hardcore OMD fans that have been there from the beginning, but I think more people are recognizing it's still a good music. And it's funny how back in those times, just like 3 or 4 years would be such a big change in the music style of somebody, a band, but then you look back, 45 years later, or 40 years later, you're like, well, it was only 3 years after. Like, it's strange to think in those times. Another really good reissue coming out is Talk Talk's Spirit Needin', which is getting a reissue. Of course, Talk Talk, the buzz on their music and the reissues, and them just getting honored. I hope wherever Mark Hollis is, I hope he's smiling, because his hard work and his amazing talents is really paying off. He's getting so much respect for what he's done, and the style of music, excuse me, and the style of music and the artists that have followed. He's just getting so much respect. It's so great to see that people are recognizing how great Talk Talk's music is. And I think one of the great things about Talk Talk, for me personally, is, because I'm a big synth pop and new wave fan, is I think equally they did as good a synth pop and new wave as they would have done that. And I don't think there's really any band that I can think of that changed so much, halfway through their career, right when they're getting popular, right when they had their biggest hit in It's My Life. They totally changed styles, changed direction, changed sounds, and then equally, and even more so, did, great music in that retrospect. I mean, it's just, for a band that's put out so much little, like, 6 albums, over the course of a decade, and the impact that they've had is almost it's almost it's hard to calculate. It's hard to estimate how, and it's still reaching new people. And so when you see these reissues come out and you see it, you get the opportunity for other people, because that's what it does. It gives the opportunity for people that can't afford an original copy and they're really interested in collecting vinyl. They get a chance to buy a copy. To buy a copy of Spirit in Eden in mint or nice condition of original copy probably cost $100. I'm certainly Laughing Stock would cost probably $200 or $300 before they reissued that. So it's just nice to see some of these reissues get done again and get moved to get shared with the new generation so they can get copies. Such a huge fan of Talk Talk, and it's great to see the respect that they're getting. A couple random reissues that I wanted to mention. Clock DVA is reissuing one of their early cassette-only albums called White Souls and Black Suits. Check that out if you're a big EBM or industrial fan. Also, Kevin Saunderson's honoring some of his back catalog and releasing a sampler, and it's volume 1, so it looks like there's coming out with some more. This particular one is under the E-Dancer, and of course it's on his KMS label. Also, William Basinski is reissuing Disintegration Loops again. That's always great to see. One of the most iconic ambient and glitch albums, experimental albums in the last 25, 30 years. Just an amazing album. Also the down-tempo duo Tosca is reissuing their 6th album called Jack, which came from 2005, so the 20th anniversary of that. Also the 20th anniversary of Through Friendly Waters by Kettel, which came on his original label that he was on and co-owned, called Sending Orbs. I got a chance to interview him, and I'll feature him on a video next week that I'm looking to do. I got a chance to interview Kettel for an online publication, and really excited about that. And he was such a nice gentleman, and some in-depth questions. So if you're a fan of his, if you like his music, stay tuned. Next week I'll review his latest album and also share that interview that I got a chance to do with him. Also, lastly, I believe you pronounce it Olafur Aarnalds. His album from 2009 is getting reissued, and it's called Found in Sound, and it's on Erased Tapes. Some really good soundtrack piano music. I believe he's from Iceland, and his album from 2009 is getting reissued as well. So lastly on this video, I'd like to share my release of the month and also my reissue of the month. My first is the new album, and it's the new long player by Black Dog, and it's called My Brutal Life. And this is the ambient mixes of The Brutal Life. And can't recommend this album enough. There's a link down below. If you like ambient music, if you like FSOL or Future Sound of London, you should definitely get to know Black Dog. Equally a fantastic techno and ambient artist. Somebody I've followed for a long time, since the mid-90s, and they've been really prolific in the last about 20 years, since coming back in 2006 on Dust Recordings with Silenced 2006, which recently got reissued last year, and I did a I did an article on that reissue for Juno Records online, but just a really really great artist, and this new album is really excellent, especially if you like Brian Eno and stuff like that. You should definitely like to get this. It's strange how once they did that music for the airports in 2010, I always connect Black Dog with Brian Eno now, and but they Black Dog, sometimes their ambient stuff reminds me of like what Brian Eno would do if Brian Eno was doing ambient music. Also, I'd like to talk about my reissue of the month, or reissue of the video, I should say, and it comes from Virgo on Landform Code. So this originally came out in 1996 or 1998. It came out on a label called A Form Records, I think, or Form A Records, or Form and then the @ symbol records. So this was a Japanese label, and it was a Japanese artist. And for those that follow and discover the history of Japanese electronic music, all the way from YMO through the city pop period and all the great new age that Japanese music done, all the great ambient music like Kitaro, and even all the way back to what's his name, who does Snowflakes and Tomita, and so all the producers that go through there, and if you follow that lineage and then you followed a lot of the ambient techno in the 90s, there was a lot of great techno artists like Ken Ishii, and man, I'm blanking on some of the names, Mr. YT, but another one of them, God, I'm blanking on some of the names. DJ Shufflemaster. I bought this from my good friend JD Capshaw from Discogs in 2007. And right around that time, around 2003 to 2007, I was starting to really dig and find a lot of like ambient only CD releases, ambient techno releases from Japanese artists that I missed, because for me, Japan was like it was almost like the last step of knowing music in ambient techno in the 90s and through the early 2000s. Like, I felt like I pretty much exhausted American style and Europe and UK, and pretty much felt like I found all the artists in that genre, which is one of my favorite genres of all time, ambient techno. So Japan artists was like my last place to really delve into and find new artists. So from like 2000 or so to like 2007, I collected a lot of the more rare ambient releases by ambient techno artists from Japan, and most of them, unfortunately, were only on CD. And so in the last couple of years, in my last videos, episode 2, my release of the month was Susumu Yokota, and he's another Japanese ambient producer that's was very well prolific and released a lot of music, and he's getting honored a lot. So it's great seeing some of these CD-only Japanese artists at the time get reissued. But yeah, that's my reissue of the month. It's Landform Code by Virgo, and with that, I'll play a couple of his tracks, a couple samples of his as we end the video. Just a fantastic ambient techno. Again, if I talked about these artists, there's probably links down below. If not, just Google it and support these artists and their new music and their old catalog. And by supporting the artists, a lot of times you support these smaller labels as well, and that's a good thing as well. So thanks for watching, and thanks for your time, and hopefully you got a chance to enjoy some new releases that are coming out, and hopefully this will encourage you to go buy them. And if you have any new artists or new reissues that you're really excited about, feel free to put them down below in the notes section. I'm sure I missed some, and there's so much good music coming out, so I'll always miss something. I already have stuff written down for my next episode, which I'll do in a month. So hopefully I can do these videos every month or so. And kind of talk about some of the new music coming out and some of the great reissues. So thanks for your time, and we'll see you on the next video.